Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome. I can see you all coming in. I'm imagining that we're in a venue and you're walking through the door and you've all been waiting like 5 hours to get in. Like we're at some sort of huge arena show.
I feel just like Madonna.
You basically are. Yep.
Madonna.
Welcome. Thank you everyone for coming. We're just going to wait maybe 1 minute or so before we start. This is our second of our insight session with Laura Imbruglia about managing your music, the release checklist. So we'll just give it a minute. Laura, is that your working from home room?
Yeah, this is my home office.
Lovely.
I need to get some art for the wall.
I do like you sort of like the brown jacket and the brown doors, you know. Is that good?
My aesthetic.
Yeah. Have you got a window there?
The window is here in front of me.
Beautiful. What can you see?
A freshly trimmed hedge.
Mm.
Bit of the road. I can see the road through the hedge. There's not many leaves on the hedge. It's been probably trimmed a little too much, I'd say.
Classic haircut, you know?
Yeah.
I said this. Anyway. All right. I think we might make a start, everybody. So thank you so much for being here. I can see some people are still coming in, but I'll do a little introduction as people keep coming in. We can't see you, but hopefully you're comfortable wherever you are. I'd firstly like to acknowledge that I am on Wurundjeri Woiwurrung country, and I'd like to pay my respects to elders past and present. I'd also like to extend that respect to all owners of country from where you are, and to all First Nations people who are joining us today. I'd like to acknowledge that story, song, language, knowledge, and the caring of country has been shared on these lands for thousands of years, always was, always will be Aboriginal land. My name is Al, and I'm a part of the education and outreach team at APRA AMCOS, as are my wonderful colleagues Nikki and Caroline, who are also joining us on this call in the background there. And I'm so excited to have Laura Imbruglia join us for our second insight sessions about managing your music. Last week was all about running your own business, and it was a fantastic session. And this week is all about releasing music. Now, I mentioned last week, Laura has released 4 albums, and I got to witness Laura go through an entire process of writing an album. I mean, I wish that I was there for the actual writing, but I basically watched her journey from writing the album all the way through to recording and then releasing it. And the method and everything that she put into that was so impressive to me. And I'm really excited about what she's going to share with us tonight, about her process, and some tips, and some really good advice about releasing music. Before I hand over to Laura, though, you will notice that the chat function is off, but you are able to use the Q&A function. So that's just at the bottom of the screen. So if you do have a question, please put that in the Q&A section. Laura will be going through her whole presentation, and then at the end of the presentation, when we've got about 5 minutes left, I'll come back on and I'll ask those questions that are put in that. So if you do have any questions, please put them in there. And the other thing too, if you have any APRA AMCOS questions, you can also put them in there, and Nikki, Caroline, and myself will answer those as we're going along as well. I think that's it from me. Laura, thank you so much. I'm really excited about this, and please take it away.
Thanks, Al. I will. Okay, I will take it away. So, welcome to Managing Your Music Part 2, the release checklist. I'll tell you a little bit about what I'm going to go through. So, I'll tell you a little bit about me so that you understand the context that I am providing advice in and the lens that I'm delivering things through. I'll go into great detail about lots of things you should consider when planning for a release or a tour. I'm going to go into grants and crowdfunding and how they work and what things you need to get in place for them. A little bit on release timelines, a bit on getting your music heard. I'm just reading out what's on this slide, so I should probably stop doing it. But then I'll talk about pitching and then promotion and looking after yourself. So that's how it's all laid out. And I've got a lot to whip through, so I might talk quickly, but I'm trying to fit it all in. So a bit about me. I've been playing and releasing music since the early 2000s, so straight out of high school. I've released 1 EP and 4 albums. I've played large and small venues, music festivals, and toured domestically and internationally. I've had sync deals where my music's been used on TV. I've received grants to record and tour my music, and I've also been on grant assessment panels. I've guest program Rage, and I list those things just to tell you that I've done almost all of those things with and without a manager, a booking agent, a record label, and a distributor. And that's because my first album was on an independent label and the rest was self-released. I had a manager for the first half of my career, and then I've been self-managed and self-booked for the second half of it. So I've seen both sides and learned a lot from the first half. Outside of music, or outside of making music, I've worked in a record store, a vinyl pressing plant, a music advocacy org, and at a music festival. So just loving, loving the music. I've done a little bit of community radio hosting and some DIY music journalism as well. So planning. Yeah, this is the administrative and strategic part. It might seem and be sometimes less fun than the writing, touring, and recording, but the more effort you put into this part, the more rewarding your experience will be overall, because you'll hopefully sell more concert tickets, make more connections that enable you to have cooler experiences, sell more record. I can't remember what I said before. Anyway, this is a quote from Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. Anyway, a good way to break up planning is everything. Break up your planning is before you go to embark on something. Just like write down on a piece of paper what, why, who, where, when, and try and you might need a piece of paper for each of those headings, and then try and answer those things, because you'll find that you have a lot of unanswered questions that you need to work through before you dive headfirst into something. So if you're looking at what do you want to release? Or record? Do you want to do a demo, a single, EP, album? What format do you want to release it in? Digital, CD, vinyl, cassette? If it's your first release, you should seriously consider testing the waters, testing out your producer, your collaborators, your emotional endurance, your personal and band member commitment, and the limits of your bank account by starting with a demo or a digital single first. Because, yeah, you can find yourself like meeting enthusiastic collaborators early on in your career that offer to record an album, but you might not be ready, and it's just better to kind of test the waters first. if you're doing live shows, do you want to do regional touring or do you want to do cities or both? Do you want to do an East Coast or a national tour, a single EP or album launch? Do you want to do a residency? So a residency is where you play this, like for example, the same like every Wednesday for all of September at a venue, the same venue, and it gives people a chance to get to know you over several weeks or to become reacquainted with you if you've been away for a while. You could consider open mic nights if you're just starting out, or once again, if you're coming back, or let's say you've been in a band and you're embarking on a solo career and you're a little bit nervous about um, your new style or whatever. There's like no shame in doing open mic nights and testing out material with complete strangers. You could consider support slots, festivals. Yeah, think about all of those potentials, especially if you're new or coming back after a long time off, before you throw yourself in the deep end of a headline launch show. Um, when looking at the why do you want to record something? So do you want to record it to get gigs? Do you want to record it to find management? Um, Depending on what you're trying to achieve, that might take take you down a different path. Because you don't need like the best recording in the world if you're just trying to get gigs. You might just need a live video filmed on a phone that captures your energy and that sounds halfway decent. So a good recording can help you secure airplay, public interest, and gigs. These next questions on this slide, which I'm going to send out afterwards, or APRA will send out, they're just things that you can think about. Yeah, so if you want to make an album, do you honestly feel like you have an album's worth of strong songs? Or are you just really excited to get in the studio? If you're not really stoked on some of them, you don't want to be like forever embarrassed about two of the songs on your album. So just take your time, take a little bit longer and get something that you're really proud of. If you want to produce physical copies and merch, are you confident that people will buy it? How many units is a safe estimate that you think you could sell? How many units do you need to sell to break even on the money that you've spent on pressing the vinyl or CDs, or to make a profit, preferably? Are you willing, able, prepared to lose money? Do you feel ready to commit 1 to 2 years of solid time on songwriting, recording, admin, touring, etc., at the potential and likely expense of your social work and personal life? I'm not meaning to make this like a downer, but it is like it's something that you should consider because it will take you away from other things. So if you're just making progress in your career outside of music, like maybe consider like when in the year is a good time, a less busy time at work to schedule touring or songwriting or recording, just so that they can coexist together. Yeah, are you playing music for merely for pleasure? Are you expecting to one day be living off music? Are you expecting airplay? Just lots of things to ponder that might help you make decisions on the various avenues you could be taking and various budgets you could be considering. Who? Get your team in order. So if you're playing with a band, is the band lineup solid? Is everyone happy, or is there someone that's constantly like skipping rehearsals or skipping sound checks and just being annoying and like a stick in the mud? Do they actually want to be in this project? Is someone like a really nice person, but they always speed up and it's like not fun and you wish that they weren't speeding up? Have serious thoughts about that and serious words with them before you go into the process of recording an album with them, because then, yeah, it will probably end at some point. And yeah, you could just, as I say, there are plenty of non-irritating musicians around. You could find someone else. Producer, meet with some producers that you have in mind, play them some demos, get their thoughts, don't rush. Some other people, or studio is not a person, but some other roles that you'll need to fill when preparing for a release. You need to find a studio, you'll need to find a graphic designer, a photographer, a video director, management and booking agent if you're ready and if there's interest. You don't need all of these roles. Publicist, record label and or digital distributor or physical distributor, merch and CD vinyl manufacturers. You could think about what venues, festivals, and support acts you want to be involved with. Funding bodies, crowdfunding platforms. There's a network that you need to consider and put together. And yeah, look at your budget, look at where you're at in your career, and you can figure out which roles you need a tick against and which ones you could not worry about right now. You can do Canva designs for a little while. I made this in Canva. It's fine. But yeah, like when you're going to release something that you're going to be really proud of, maybe consider spending money on getting a graphic designer for that, because it won't look like it was designed in Canva. When? When do you want to do it? So consider all these things. Material readiness. Do you need to set aside time to focus on writing first? If you're having trouble getting that time, you could consider a brief holiday or blocking out a few long weekends, or there are things called artist residencies, which is different to the other residency that I mentioned before. A residency in the artist residency way is that there are places around Australia and around the world that advertise that they will provide space. It's basically like free accommodation for a short period of time, like 2 to 4 weeks or something. And they take in artists of all art forms or different art forms depending on what kind of space it is. And they basically just give you a house or a space to create in. And you apply for it. And it's a competitive process, but there's a bunch of them. I did one at Bundanon through the Bundanon Trust to write my last album, and it was really, I don't think I would have been able to do it otherwise. I just had a busy job and it took me away from everything, and I was in a beautiful location to be inspired. But there's also like Jackie Winter Gardens in Victoria. They have Jackie Winter Gardens and Jackie Winter Waters. There's gang residencies in New South Wales. So just do a bit of a Google and start building a list and start applying for them when you see them, or joining their mailing list so that you find out when the applications are open. Personnel availability, set a meeting with your band and producer and look at everyone's calendars and see if you can find blocks that work for everyone and lock them in. Funds availability, write up an album budget to determine how far off you are. Grants availability, check out what grants are available and for what timeframes and when are the applications due. So I'll go into grants a bit more in a little while, but there's like Creative Australia, Music Australia, and then there's like ones for each state and territory, Creative Victoria, Sound New South Wales, Q Music. They're all around the country. And then on top of that, there's ones in your local council. They have budgets as well. So just start getting a list together and joining those mailing lists, and this is how you gather funds to make the album that you want to make. Mental availability. Is anyone that's going to be involved with the project about to start a new job, get busy at work, have increased personal commitments, or have a baby? Just have those conversations and get a sense of what people can realistically commit to, and then you know how to move forward, so that you don't get quite a way down the road before you realize that this particular setup's not going to work. Start making investigations 3 to 6 months before you want to do anything, and that includes your tour bookings with venues, because venues book out a really long time in advance. Where do you want to do things? So if you're looking into studios, consider the reputation of the studio that you're looking at, the price, the suitability for your music genre. If you want to save money, you can just record bed tracks, which is drums, bass, rhythm guitar, and guide vocal in a proper studio, and then you could do the rest of the tracks in a rehearsal room or a home studio. And that saves heaps of money. Touring, where's your audience? So you can refer to Spotify analytics, crowdfunding data, Facebook data, and that can help you figure out, like, oh, I have a massive audience in Adelaide and it's bigger than my audience in Brisbane. So that might help you decide that. If you're from Sydney, for example, and you can only afford to do one, that might help you make a decision. Yeah, look at what festivals are lining up with your tour route and your release dates, and you can consider pitching to them. Look into what you can realistically afford. Are you willing to look at your tour as an exhausting but fun holiday if you lose money? Research everything carefully. Don't make hasty decisions. And just because I'm talking about Spotify analytics, I'll just show you a few places where you can find a bit of info. So this is Spotify for artists. I don't use Spotify. I've taken my music off it, so this data is going to look pretty boring. Uh, I don't know how much I'm going to be able to show you, but basically it's separate to Spotify. You go to artist.spotify.com, and there might be a process of claiming your account or proving that you are the artist that you want to say you are. And then you get access to your data, and it tells you things like the demographic, the gender of your listeners, the location that they're in, which releases they engaged with, and all of these kind of things. But I've taken it off because last year Spotify changed the way that they pay artists, and they don't pay if you have less than 1,000 streams per track per year, they don't pay you for that. And so in protest, I took my music off. But as a result, I can't access as much data. But that data's cool if you want it. Another way you can get data is in your Facebook page. You go into your Facebook page and then go into Meta Business Suite. There's all kinds of data about, like, what kind of reach your posts have had in the last little while. You can figure out, like, there might have been something that you posted on a certain date that really resonated with people, and you can, like, drill down onto what that was. You can find out, see, this tells me that my top city is Melbourne and then Sydney, based on the people that follow my account, what age they are. It can help you with marketing and stuff as well. So that's some of the data that you can access. Moving along, how are you going to do it? Look into funding. So yeah, mentioned before, grant applications, crowdfunding. If you want to save money, home recording. digital only release, so you would be saving money on merch, like pressing vinyl or CDs. You could look into kick in some of your personal savings and do it yourself for as many things as you can within reason. So that could be things like, I have definitely in the past, I don't think it's legal, but I've definitely like pole posted my own gigs instead of paying a poster distribution company to stick up posters for me. Um, I've definitely screen printed my own promo CDs to take to radio instead of arranging for them to be done somewhere else. Anything you can think of that, sometimes you have a lot of time, but you don't have a lot of money. And so just think about what you can do with your time that could save you money. Planning, how are you going to do it? You're planning, so you need to get a budget together, you need to get a timeline together, you need to get some plans for how you're going to communicate effectively with your collaborators. So like it could be a WhatsApp group with your band members, or Slack if you use Slack. If you're all really organized or someone is, you could use like project management software like Asana or Trello. Um, and you can look at a shared calendar in Google to help. That's how I did my last plans with my last release. So I had all my band in a shared calendar, and if someone was unavailable, they'd block it out. And then when I get offered a gig, I'd be able to quickly look at it and be like, that's out or that's in. Touring, consider whether you want to take a van or multiple cars or flights and investigate the cost difference for them. You could consider music venues for touring versus something like So Far Sounds, which is it's more for like solo artists, I think, but you apply to perform as a So Far Sounds performer, and they put on these curated events. So you could investigate that for certain situations. Look into guarantees versus door deals and see what would be more cost effective for you. So guarantees where the venue just says like, we're going to give you $700 to do this show. And sometimes you have to pay the supports out of that. Sometimes they include the sound and they don't. And then a door deal would be like, you can take all the money that you make from tickets, and we'll take $2 per person off the door or something. So there's a few different things you want to consider. And then publicity. How are you going to publicize your release? You're going to need professional photos taken. You might need some videos. You're going to need press releases, which is like a text that you create that tells someone who knows nothing about you a little bit about you and a little bit about your release. So moving into grants, yeah, there are a lot of grants out there, federal, state, your local council, to help make releasing and touring a more affordable prospect. When you write a grant application, it forces you to think seriously and professionally about your release and your marketing strategy. And you have to create a budget and a plan as part of your submission. So even if you're unsuccessful, which you often are, you will have a plan of attack for your release, and you'll have draft copy for your next grant application. And the more you write, the easier they get to write. Yeah, like ordinarily, if I wasn't applying for a grant, I probably wouldn't go to the detail that I'll show you shortly. But it helps you really think about what you're trying to do, and then it helps you have a plan. So when you are doing grant applications, do collect quotes for the things that you're putting in your budget. So you can't just put like arbitrary figures in, because they often will want you to back your budget up with quotes. And also you need to know what it's actually going to cost instead of just randomly assigning numbers. Do ask for letters of support. So letters of support, often you need to provide those with grant applications, and it's like a letter from someone that is like known or like somewhat well respected in the music industry. So it could just be like someone that works at community radio. It could be someone from a record label. They don't have to be your record label. Just like if you have someone that is a fan of yours that has told you they love your music or you're awesome or keep it up. Just like if they're an influential person, keep them in mind. And when it comes time to do a grant application, write them an email and say, hey, I was wondering if you would be willing to write a letter, sign a letter of support for me for my grant application. I'll draft it for you. You don't have to do it. And basically just make it really easy for them. Do it like a shareable Google Doc that they can edit if they want to, but you draft it what you want them to say. Don't make it like ridiculously like overly complimentary. Just like, I first observed this person at this show and I was taken by their blah. You can even put brackets, please, flesh this out as you want, but just make it easy for them and they'll basically just, if they have time, they'll sign it. But if you give them a blank page or ask them to do the whole thing from scratch, chances are they won't write back to you. Sign up to newsletters, for example, Creative Australia, the state music bodies, your local council. And just Google like Arts Grants Australia, Arts Grants your location, and start signing up to newsletters, and you'll get notifications when they're live. And follow them on socials as well, because they usually post about them on social media. Spend some time on the application. Don't rush it. It does take a few goes. Like you sit down, you do your draft, and then you have to ask everyone for the quotes and the letters of support. So just like allow a few weeks to do that process. Do read the guidelines carefully. They, if you don't read the guidelines, you could miss something that is like just like a deal breaker, like a yes, no, you'll get the grant, you won't get the grant. Even if you have put together an amazing application, if they say in the guidelines, this funding is for something that a project that must be delivered between February 2026 and September 2026. If you haven't read that and you've said your project starts in October 2026, you're out. So that's important, and it can help you put your grant application together. Have a detailed budget, a detailed plan, a marketing strategy. You don't have to be a marketing whiz, but you do need to say, I will be promoting on these platforms, and like just kind of make it sound like you do know what you're talking about. And have some ideas of future plans. Consider the accessibility of if it's like a show that you're putting on. Um, Accessibility is for everyone, and it's positively looked upon. And so is performing in the region. So if you wouldn't apply for a regional tour, you wouldn't apply to City of Melbourne for money to fund a regional tour, because they're all about City of Melbourne. But they would be interested in accessibility. And if you were applying for a national tour with Creative Australia, you would want to include the regions as well, if you can. Just think about things like that. You don't have to, but it can be. You got to think about what the funding bodies, what their priorities are as well, and if you can align on anything. Do deliver on what you promised if you're successful, because you do need to submit an acquittal, which is like a report at the end of having spent all the money. And if you spent it on completely different things without having checked in with them and adjusted your plan, you're unlikely to get money from them ever again, and they might even ask you to give money back. Do have a balanced budget, so that's where your income and expenses are the same total. And do ask for feedback if you're unsuccessful. Sometimes they just give it to you without you asking, which is awesome, but more often than not, you get an email or letter saying you were unsuccessful. And it might say, please email this address or call this number for feedback. Do it, because you'll need that feedback for you. Otherwise, you're likely to just duplicate your grant application and submit a variation of it next time and keep making the same mistakes. Don't expect them to cover all your costs. With grant applications, you should be chipping in a decent chunk of the budget. They're not there to give you like golden tickets to make everything magically just be handed to you. They're there to help you. You're almost there, and they're helping you top it up. Don't leave it to the last minute to apply, and don't ask for more money than is reasonable for where you're currently at. So if you're emerging, which is like just starting out, start small with your requests. Yeah. Crowdfunding. So crowdfunding is like Possible, GoFundMe, Kickstarter. It's probably not as big a thing or as popular as it was about 10 years ago, but all of those platforms still exist, and they remain an effective way to engage an audience and get them invested in your project. Um, I haven't released something that recently, but I would still do it. I would still use crowdfunding unless Bandcamp introduces something that works in the same way, which I don't think they have. But I think of crowdfunding as like a pre-release campaign. So you're like, I want to raise $30,000, not 30,000, but X amount of money to press my album on vinyl. And you're trying to encourage people to basically pre-order your album. A warning with crowdfunding is that if you do it, you're selling more records up front. So it means that you're probably going to sell less records on the road and less records in stores, because it's aimed at your existing fan base. So if you did step up and become like much bigger than you were before, then that might not be true. But yeah, you're not necessarily like making a lot more money, you're just making it up front. And it's easier to get people invested in buying your album if they can see the target that you're aiming for, rather than just saying, my album's out, go buy it in stores. You can't, yeah, it's just like a helpful way to sell. Um, so, uh, so this is an example of one of the ones that I've done previously. This was for my last album. Yeah, you basically introduce yourself, you tell them who you are, what you're trying to do, what the budget is, the money that you're looking to raise, what it will pay for, and what the challenges are with your um, with your project, and what get them invested and like pull on the heartstrings a little bit. And yeah, so they basically start, the lowest one is like a digital release or whatever, but you pick and choose whatever the prizes are or the pledges are. And it goes from like digital to vinyl plus home demos. And then I just started like adding things that are for people that don't buy music or that just have a streaming account and that's it. So, I hosted a music trivia event because that's a thing that I used to do. And I was selling tickets for $50. Oh, it's like a table of tickets for $50. I was just selling merch from my web series that I made. One thing that's really annoying when you're trying to make a music video is finding extras to be in your music video, which is just like people that are like in the background. But if you put it in as a prize or something that people can pledge on in a crowdfunding campaign, like people will pay for the excitement of being in a music video. But if you when you're trying to do it and not pay people, it's really hard. It doesn't make any sense. But anyway, that's one. This one is just like me trying to sell all my old stock um, on CD. This is me selling all my old stock on vinyl. This is me recording like cover karaoke songs on YouTube and charging people $100 for that. So you just put like weird things in there. Like I offered to DJ a party, someone took me up on that. Um, so that's their kind of different ways that you can look for things that don't actually cost that much that you can charge a lot for. Um, so do's and don'ts of crowdfunding: do calculate postage properly, same as the one I was talking about with grant applications. Don't assign arbitrary guesstimates. I learned that the hard way with postage. Do read the guides and tips on their website, the crowdfunding website, and follow them because it will set you up for success. Um, do have a rollout plan. How are you going to announce the crowdfunding campaign? How are you going to promote it? How are you going to keep it interesting? And how are you going to tap into different audiences? For instance, when I did my last one, I did like a post on LinkedIn that was kind of braggy, and but that was obviously not the approach that I would take for Facebook or my personal Facebook or whatever. Do keep pushing until the campaign closes. Do deliver on what you promised. Don't bother with small donations like $2. It's not going to help you with your goal. And don't set ridiculously high goals because these websites are often all or nothing. So you don't want to go too modest because if you reach your goal too quickly, it's hard to get money from people. But you also want to be realistic because you want to get to your target. Release timelines. So there are no hard and fast rules for release timelines, but there are some industry norms that exist to help get the most juice out of your album. So you would release one or two singles before you release your EP or album. If you give everyone everything all at once, if you just put an album out, it'll be harder to get continued attention over the coming year. And it's only Justin Bieber or King Gizzard maybe can release an album with no warning and have it make an impact. Generally, you need to allow a bit of time for your music to be pitched to radio and to media before it gets released publicly. And pay attention to what other people are doing. For example, like how long between singles. Um, there's no, like I say, there's no rules on it, but there are like trends that come and go. Just pay attention to what a successful peer band or artist are doing and just like copy them. Um, Sample release timeline here. So am I still sharing? I hope I am. Uh, yes, okay. So this is the sort of thing that if you're really conscientious, that you might submit with a grant application. So the way that it works is that the lighter color is movable dates and the dark is hard deadlines. So you just go in and start plotting, like say you knew that there was a grant deadline here, you plug it in. If you knew that I need to book a venue by a certain date, or like if there was an open EOI for a festival that was advertised, you would plug that deadline in a dark color, and everything before it is like what your planning time. So the purpose of doing this is that it's important to remember that, like, while you might be focused this week on recording your vocals, you might also need to be thinking about the grant deadline that's coming up, or the Facebook advertising campaign that you need to be rolling out so that people turn up for your show that's somewhere over here. And so each one of these columns is a week. Is a week in the month. So yeah, it can just help you go, cool, in this 1 week I am recording. I'm also preparing to engage a publicist and getting everything together for them. I'm also I need to start getting assets together for my music video. So it might be that you're collecting props for your music video. And what are you also doing? Yeah, you're booking the advertise, or there's an advertising campaign that's live at that time. So yeah, it seems overwhelming at the beginning, but you just start with a blank white screen and just start plotting in deadlines, and then anything before the deadline is how long you think it will take to prepare for that, for you to hit the deadline. Oh my God, I just closed it. Okay. Please tell me if everything has disappeared from the screen, my friends at APRA, and I will
It looks great. We're here. We got it.
all right. I'm back on Canva.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Okay, so getting your music heard. A publicist is someone that you want to consider. A publicist will write and/or edit your press releases. They take your music to radio and they secure interviews to time with your release and tour plans. They're also really good to bounce release strategy and single ideas off. That said, they are getting harder to come by because with the way that music is mainly consumed on streaming, there's less money that musicians are making. Therefore, they have less money to spend on publicists. And there's also like less music media than there used to be. So don't be disheartened if you can't find one or can't afford one. Mainly it requires time and organizational skills. So reach out to radio presenters on community radio. A personal connection goes a long way with airplay. And if you want street press interviews, you usually just need to buy some ad space. So, you could have that conversation when you're booking the ad, but it's very much like that's kind of how it works with ads and street press. But yeah, if you can find a publicist and you can afford one, and you know that, like, if they've worked with someone that that's good, like get a reference or a recommendation, because they are amazing and they're good at hustling. Community radio. So if you can use a service called AMRAP Air It. It distributes your music to community radio nationwide. And then once you've done that, you follow up with an e-newsletter going out to specific stations or radio shows that you really want airplay from. And you would let them know that your music's on AMRAP Air It, and that's how they can find it. That is, I'm pretty sure it's a free service, but look into it. Up-to-date and frequent online presence. Make sure your online profiles, Facebook, Bandcamp title, etc., have your bio, your tour dates, etc. It can be hard to remember all the things you need to keep updated, but you don't, just like if you're about to release a new thing, just do a big clean out of all your social media and make sure that your bio is not one from like 5 years ago or out of date. Regular shows, consider a month-long residency if you've been away for a while, or like, just consider it. Maybe following up with mid to high profile supports before embarking on an album and single tours. So you want to kind of get people aware of you before you're all of a sudden on tour promoting an album. So find ways to that aren't going to blow, like you don't want to do heaps of headline shows and then do a headline tour because you might have used up all your audience interest. So those kind of cool support slots leading into an album tour can be really good, or single tour. Distributors, look at digital and physical distributors. So I use Ditto for digital, but there's lots of different DSPs, they're called. And they basically upload your music to all the platforms that you choose. Like you give them your music and then you choose like Spotify, Tidal, Apple Music, Deezer, whatever you want. And then they get them up there. And you set release dates and all of that. With physical distributors, they put your music, get your music into record stores. I used to use MGM for physical. They're really great. But with my last album, I decided that there wasn't, that I could probably just contact independent record stores myself. And I just wanted to do it as a test case because I'd only ever done it the other way. And it's not like I made a lot of money on the ones that went to record stores, but it did feel like a manageable task to look after myself. With merch, you can look into businesses like Artist First, but there are other ones where they will warehouse a small amount of your stock and they'll look after online orders for you and they take a 20% cut. So they make a really good looking like online store, and anyone from anywhere in the world can order your t-shirts or vinyl or whatever and they'll post them out. So it's really cool to not have to deal with that stuff yourself. But if you're not active and you're not selling, they will either not take your stuff or they'll ask you to collect it. So it's only good if you have people actually coming to buy your merch while you're active. Independent record stores, yeah, I mentioned before, it's hard to make money on those because you're paying for the postage to get them into the record stores, but it is worth it for visibility around the country if you've just put an album out. You could just, give them a small amount and then hand deliver while you're on tour to save a bit of money. And when you're there, try to get them to buy upfront rather than on consignment because if it's on consignment, they just basically take them and they'll tell you when they sell, but it's just like they don't tell you and then you have to chase them and it's annoying. So if you can get them, convince them that like it's that you're getting airplay and that you're playing shows in the town, ideally you would get them to just pay for them upfront. Okay, pitching. So yeah, it never hurts to pitch yourself for things, whether that's to play on a festival, to play in a support slot, if there's a venue that you really like, then want to play in, if there's a record label you'd love to be on, a radio show you'd like to be played on. I don't know if blogs exist anymore. Rage, any of these things, like it's totally fine to email them and pitch yourself. Do include a press release and your bio. Do include a link to some reasonable quality live footage, link to your music, link to your socials, and give them your latest, most impressive news. That is how people get. That's basically what booking agents are doing anyway. So you're just being your own booking agent. Just try and make it as professional as possible or as entertaining as possible. Just something, one or the other. Promotion. Okay. Linktree. I'll go through a few different things here. So Linktree is really great for social media instead of posting your website. So say on Instagram, you'll often see people have a Linktree or something similar. The reason is if you just put your website there, then people go to your website and they have to kind of navigate a menu that is different on every person's website, and it might just be that you ultimately want them to buy tickets to a concert this week or whatever. So what Linktree is basically like a menu. Uh, it's like a website menu, and that's all that it is. And you pick and choose which things you want on there. And you can update it as you see fit. So I'm currently asking people or telling them that I have this event right now on, so that can go. Delete. And this is a little preview of your link tree. So it's gotten rid of that, but I'm also encouraging people to buy merch, listen to me on a podcast, check out my last album, check out a music video, go to my website. And it's cool because you can just like do a LinkedIn post, and it could be like on day one, you're like, hey, I've got a show on Al, I can see you're looking at me. Uh-oh, I've gone over time. I'm going over time.
TikTok, TikTok. It's amazing. It's so great, Laura. Everything that this is just such an incredible presentation. We do have 3 minutes left though, so I
Oh,
just wanted
yeah.
to, I guess, give you that little warning. We're just going to have to probably answer some questions. So
Okay. We'll be quick. All right. So check out Linktree. It's really good. Check out scheduling apps. Like there's one called Later if you're really busy and you connect it to like whatever social media you're using. You upload your pictures, and then like you just be like, look, I'm Buffalo Bill. And then it just like magically goes out to your social media, and you can change the caption, whether it's Instagram or Facebook, and then you choose your time and it goes live, and that's great. Um, that's going to be embarrassing when it lands on my profile. Press pack, yeah, bio pics, they're important. Boosted posts, you can pay money to get your posts on social media further. Posters flyering, and get yourself a mailing list together, collect people's email addresses. Last thing before I stop, look after yourself. There's a lot of data and information that I've just given you, and if you're finding all of organizing a release stressful, have a break. No one's going to mind if you take a little bit longer to do something, and check out Support Act. They are good, a good support. I'm done. Sorry.
oh my gosh, please don't be sorry. That was so excellent. Thank you so much, Laura. It was really awesome. So much information. We have lots of questions, so I'm just going to jump in, okay?
Yeah, do it.
So we will try and get through all the questions, everyone. But if I can't get to everybody, we might go overtime a little bit, but we are recording the session. So we'll try and answer everything that we can. Okay, first one, you mentioned at the start of the session that you've released music signed and independently. What are the pros and cons of each, and which do you personally prefer and why?
Yeah, my first album was on my manager at the Times record label. The pros was that like he knew how to release a record, and so all of that strategy was not something that I had to think about, and it's kind of tied in with having a manager, like a manager or a label or both. They're there to kind of think about like when is a good time to release a single before the album and blah blah blah. Um, Whereas if you're doing it yourself, you need to figure that out yourself, or in consultation with a publicist or someone that knows more than you, or just use your best bet. But I do think that like just observing what other peers are doing can be really helpful, because people will always post when they have a new music video or whatever. So you can actually like reverse engineer. You can go back through their social media and go, cool, they put out that single on that date, they put that single on that date, and they released the album on that date. Therefore, that is a professional thing to do, and I'm going to do the same thing.
Love it. Thank you so much. There were a few questions about grants.
Mhm.
So we'll just go through those. Are grants taxable? That is, do we have to include them in our income tax return as income?
I believe so, yes.
Beautiful. Sorry, don't you hate it when it like scrolls for you? Like, why is it scrolling down? Okay, regarding grant feedback, I remember receiving an email saying I wasn't successful and that they received too many applications to give individual feedback. Is there a point to ask for feedback still at this point?
No, if they've said that received too many no, unfortunately, no. Um, but yeah, hopefully some of the things I've mentioned today would help you reflect on if that could help you for a future grant application. But yeah, some places are under-resourced and can't give that feedback.
Yeah. The other thing, if you don't mind me adding to, is that there are people that are grant writers. So you can seek someone to write or pay someone to write the grant for you. You will have to do a fair bit of work as well, because you'll need to tell them all about the project and what you're applying for. But if you wanted to, you could potentially also pay someone for some feedback if you wanted to. So
True.
that would be an option too.
And
Um,
one more thing, sorry, you also, I don't want to AI is bad and I think it's bad, but also it is a little bit good with grant applications in terms, can be good. If you just like need some help putting together a first draft of, it's the more things you feed it, the better it can be. But AI is bad, but just saying could help a little bit with grant.
um, okay. How would we get our music heard on commercial radio stations?
Publicist will help you with that. You do, or a radio plugger, you do need to kind of usually have some kind of success, or it's generally like the trajectory that you would have some community radio success first. Not
Mhm.
always, but yeah, it's not like that common to be unsigned and then all of a sudden on commercial radio, though it can sometimes happen.
Yeah. Great. Lots of love to you as well coming with these comments. I think we've probably got time for two more. I wanted to ask, sorry, it's doing that scrolling thing again. Must be my computer. Do you have any advice for artists with a limited ability to perform live? Is that something we can work around or put off at the beginning, or should we be trying to make live performance a more viable possibility? Example, changing format, asking for accommodations.
Do you have any advice for us with limited? I think, or should we be trying to make live performance a more viable possibility, changing format? I think totally cool to ask for accommodations and to propose changing formats. I think the music industry is often really receptive to different approaches to doing things. And also like during COVID, all kinds of different ways of enjoying music became commonplace for a little while. So the technology is there as well. So yeah, I reckon you can look into a few of those things. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, we might just do well, actually. Oh yeah, sorry, we'll just do one more and then we're good. Does the Facebook analytics have to be through a business account only that you know?
It's been a while since I set that up. If you have a Facebook page, do you have a business account? Do you know, Al?
I think you can get one. Like if you have a Facebook page, I'm pretty sure, regardless of whether you have like a business, like Facebook business, you should be able to get some insights.
Mm.
I am definitely not an expert in this
Yeah.
space, but
I haven't paid for anything. Like, I'm not paying for that. I have
yeah,
my personal Facebook, and then I have a Facebook page for my music. And the business is maybe like maybe business gets involved when you boost posts or things. I can't remember. I'm really sorry. I don't know how to answer that one.
Yeah, I think the more that if you're using it for advertising, then yes, you'll get more insights based on what you've advertised. And you might get some more insights simply because you're probably getting more people to your page or engaging with your page. And that's probably the same for Instagram. But you won't get insights for like a personal Facebook page, only a page that you've created for your music. Laura, thank you so much. This was so great. Honestly, I was just chatting to Nikki and Caroline throughout it, just saying how awesome it was.